Welcome to Spinning Wheels and to an episode of the podcast that has a distinctly World Championship feel to it. Guy, we swapped the pit lane for the boardroom last time out with a truly fascinating look behind the scenes at, one of the biggest stories in British motorsport, at least, that kind of defines a lot of your career. It had all the hallmarks of an exclusive with Brian Gush, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've known Brian for many, many years, but you don't always actually sit down with somebody and find out the ins and outs and the workings of what goes on behind the scenes. You know, as drivers, we just jump in the car, the program's all set, and we go and race. And actually, these programs start well in advance of the racing season, in many cases, years before. And there's a lot of boardroom discussions and workings just to get the car to the racetrack. So while I've discussed some of those with Brian previously, there was things coming out in that podcast that I'd not heard before. So even for me, it was really interesting to listen to what he had to say. But yeah, really enjoyed that one.
So if you haven't seen that yet or caught it on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from, it is available right now. A former director of motorsport for Bentley Motors during that famous Le Mans victory and then the GT3 program. Now on today's show, we've got someone who can pretty accurately be described as the touring car king, taking pole in his very first British touring car outing, scoring multiple podiums and victories since then, before taking the European touring car title and then 3 world touring car titles. I'm sure we'll come to that because the spoilers are a little bit bigger these days. Welcome to Spinning Wheels, Andy Priaulx MBE.
Hey guys, how are you doing? Good to see you all.
Andy, you'll forgive me, hopefully, for beginning things with a bit of a shameful play on words, but in the early days, it wasn't all plain sailing, was it?
No, not at all. I think, the first, I remember actually I was racing with Guy in Formula 3, but he was on another level. I mean, he was up there winning races and I was pounding around in the B-class Formula 3. Just struggled with, transitioning from hill climbing. So my father was a keen hill climber, so started really grassroots motorsport and made the switch to circuit racing quite late, really. And of course, then I sort of, struggled a bit in the early years just to understand the business, not only the driving side, but also the commercial side, because, I was a little bit wet behind the ears. And then it took a few years, but once I got myself established and got the money right, got the funding right, and I managed to get the right sort of deals in place, then I never really looked back. But it was a tough start, but I think that's also can be a positive as well, because it makes you work for it, and I've never sort of had the luxury of not having to think or worry about everything. I've always been, having to juggle and keep everything spinning and, trying to keep all the plates spinning and still driving and winning races. So it kind of helped me through my career, and Guy's been much the same. I think, it's something that makes you as a driver in and out of the car. So
it wasn't always just wheels, though, was it? It was sometimes you were on the water as well.
It started on all sorts. I mean, Guernsey's, where I live now and where I was born. I mean, it's a small island, but there's a whole lot of motorsport. You've got sand racing just around the corner from me. Just up the road, I've got the motocross track. We've got a little kart track in St. Peter Port where you just drive around the outside of a football pitch. There's powerboat racing. I mean, we are all racing crazy. We have rallies over here, sprints, hill climbs all over the island. So, I was still competing, but just at a real amateur level. I was building my own car myself and, spannering it, in the evening before, racing it the next day, and then prepping it afterwards. But, I drove everything pretty much. Anything with an engine, I was happy to drive. And, I never had any sort of big plans. I mean, like nowadays, when, I've got a son coming through motorsport and, I think Guy and I were probably the last generation that came through when it wasn't like necessarily totally mapped out for you. Now you have to be like at 8 years old, you have to be doing this, and then 10 years old, you've got to be doing that, and you've got to have a Twitter following or a Facebook following of this many people. And it's a different world now. When I started racing, it was really about passion, commitment to the sport, and being good at your trade, whether it's set up and working with teams or sponsors. It's a very different world to what we have now. But I enjoyed it because also I wasn't like a professional driver at 10 years old. So I still had bags of, in my mid 20s, I still had bags of desire. I wasn't tired. I really wanted to prove myself. So I think, sometimes you can burn out a bit early if you're doing too much too soon. And I still had bags of energy, and even into my mid to late 30s, I was still wanting to prove myself all the time. So in a way, it kind of helped lengthen my career, I suppose, in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Because you see a lot of the kids now in karting, like Andy says, and they start young, which is great, but because it's so expensive, and the parent, obviously the parents are generally funding it, that the pressure is on them from an early age. And in some respects, if you're not in Formula One or lined up to be in Formula One by the age of 17 now, you're kind of almost too old and you passed it. And really, I mean, I went karting just the other day, and it's kind of brought me back to my roots. I'm saying this should be fun. There was a dad there with an old car and a trailer, and he's there with his two sons. And it wasn't a particularly great car. It wasn't the best equipment, but they were having so much fun together. And actually, that's really what karting should be all about. And that's really lost, because then you go to a British Championship race or whatever, and it's highly commercial, big trucks, big money, computers. And we always used to race hard, but then we'd have barbecues, play football, and it's all that bonding. And like Andy says, you're not burnt out, because you still love what you do. And you go into car racing, and of course it changes because it's more serious, and you're definitely on the path to try and achieve greater things. But it's a shame you see these karting kids kind of get to sort of 13, 14, they're burnt out, they've argued with the parents, they've spent all the money, and then it's game over, and it's a shame to see. But I think what's interesting, what Andy was saying was that we talk about it, Paul, in previous episodes about that work ethic. I mean, Andy is somebody that obviously has got bags of talent, but we always used to laugh and joke. We'd be at the Autosport Awards or whatever, and we'd be networking like crazy. Who's at your table? Oh, well, this guy is like the head of this, and I'm working on him. I'm going to do this, and it was like a joke. It was so funny. It was like, well, I wonder if we can get him to sponsor, and we'd always work in the angles in jest, but actually in seriousness as well, because that talent alone is not enough. You've got to be able to keep the journey going. You've got to keep working hard. And I think what's interesting is it doesn't actually really stop. The more successful you become, you still got to make deals happen and network and put things together. So
it gets more expensive as well, doesn't it? The higher you go, it gets more expensive.
Yeah, it does.
The
numbers get bigger, and now it's all about, like Andy says, it's about social media followings. How many Twitter followers have you got? How many followers have you got on Instagram? Because OEMs tend to look at, what kind of, if we're looking at drivers, and they're all pretty much a muchness across the board. It's like, well, who's going to give us? They'll bring in the commercial director for that brand, and they'll say, well, actually, he's got X amount of followers, or he's got more. He can offer more to the brand than the other driver, but actually in ability, there's probably nothing in it. So it starts to become, these smaller things, which I'm quite glad that I missed out on that, because it's not our era. I mean, I enjoy the social media thing to an extent, but not to the pressure where you feel like you have to be. I went for a coffee this morning, I went for a run this morning, that kind of stuff. Because it's just like, and obviously you've got it with Seb now. You've got it with Seb, so it's it's how do you do it? It's tricky.
Yeah, it's tricky for the kids now. I mean, I'm a great believer in Instagram doesn't make you faster. I always at the beginning of Seb's career, it was like, he's like, Dad, I didn't get many likes. This kid's got like 50,000 likes or something, and I'm like, mate, does that make you any quicker? No, forget it. But unfortunately, Guy, you're right. Manufacturers do look at that now. It is sad.
Do they really? Do they really look at the number of likes? That's crazy.
100%.
That's crazy.
Yeah, not the likes, but the social media interaction. Yeah. And what the message that you're getting out there, and I think it's just become very, very very small opportunities. So there's got to be so many positives around you to get the drive. Looking at Guy and myself. I mean, I've been a factory driver for 20 years. And just had to keep reinventing myself. But now it's luckily we've got our fall back on, and we've got a name, and in fact that for programs, because you can lead the program and help with set up and make important decisions. But the young kids now do have to have all of the benefits, to the point where they'll assess the amount of tweets that you've done during the month, and how much you've tagged in the manufacturer's name, and what the exposure's been, and it's a lot of pressure for them. It's like you can't move, but it's sad, and yeah, I'm old school. We want to race, you know, that's what it's all about. It's about the guy who wants it most on Sunday afternoon, and not the one that's able to make it the most exciting and look most fantastic on a Sunday afternoon. So I've got carters who've got a lot more followers than me, you know, people like these kids. I don't know whether they buy them or what, but you know, I've got, you know, followers, but then you look at some of these karting kids and they're like 50, 80,000 followers, you know, and there's me and Guy, 20 years in the sport, you know, won 60 odd races. We're not the same level, but you know, we don't mind. That's life.
It's all good. It's all good. So Andy, one thing I wanted to touch on, obviously, I know obviously that did Formula 3, you were with Protect Me and stuff. And then you went to the Formula Renault, not Formula Renault, Renault Spider Championship. Because we spoke to Jason Plato the last one episode, and he was saying, I think he was like the first sort of big name to go into the Spider Championship. He said it was like a real gamble because he thought like it's a one-mate championship. Like, I'm not sure if it's really for me. And actually for him, it was kind of a real launch pad. And he, you know, obviously he dominated it, much like you did when, I think, were you the following year to him or Yeah. And then obviously for you, I mean, no, you did the same thing. You kind of dominated it. Do you think it was a good help for you doing that, or how did you see that?
Yeah, it was. It was. I liked. I mean, one make's always a risk. You know, I always used to like the one make formulas because you could find the advantage with if you're good with setup with a good team, whatever, and you could find, you know, if you were with the wrong engine manufacturer that year, you're screwed. You know. But yeah, I mean, it is a risk, but I had nothing to lose at that moment anyway. Unfortunately, my year was the year where there wasn't any prize money. So I won every single race, and there was supposed to be a 30 grand prize money fund at the end of it, and that didn't happen. So that was annoying, but it did. I mean, it gave me, you what?
Okay, well, that point as well, you were living in the caravan at Silverstone at that point with Joe.
Well, yeah, so basically I left Guernsey and literally we did a year of Formula Renault, and halfway through the year the sponsors fell out of bed. You know how it is. I mean, I was driving around middle to back of the grid because I didn't have the best car and I didn't really know the business. So I ended up borrowing money to finish the season, and I was buying and selling cars to pay back the debt. And in the end, we just had to lump it all in, and we sold the house in Guernsey and we moved over to England to live in a caravan for a year. My wife had a good banking job and she gave everything up. I can't believe it. But you know what, mate, we had the best year of our life. We didn't have any bills, nobody could find us, we didn't exist, and it was just fun. You know, we would live in our dream, and you know, I think it took a while to sort of get it all started, but after the Renault Spider season, it springboarded me into a good relationship with Renault. I then turned that into a full-time driver with Multimatic after Jensen left, and I got the test and I won the shootout, and then you know, I went on from there really. After Formula 3, went into Honda and touring cars, and the rest is history. But it was, you know, I don't know about you, but there's moments in your career where you can say, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have made it. And I've probably got a handful of those moments. And if they hadn't happened, we would have been, you know, if BMW did pick up the phone and say, are you available? You know, I wouldn't have had 3 world titles. And yeah, we've all had those moments, don't we? So that was an important one for me.
The touring car thing came because Phil Bennett was suspended, wasn't he? I remember you took over the egg car at Alton. Obviously, you got pole position because I think I was there, and I was like, shit, he's got pole position like in his first time in a touring car. Like it was a pretty amazing feat because
I know.
I mean, you know, going touring cars is quite a niche thing, isn't it? You know, for a lot of people, it's quite difficult. But probably for you, because you've done, you know, the hill climb and done a bit of everything, it probably helped you be a bit more adaptable, so that when you went to a touring car, you're a bit more at ease getting up to speed with it. Do you think?
Yeah, I think, you know, I always suited a sort of slightly heavier car, you know, which was rolling a little bit more, and I had to really work hard in Formula 3, and it didn't suit my style because I didn't come from, you know, extensive karting background. So Formula cars, I really had to think about it, you know, and I had to dig pretty deep. But the touring car was always, I always felt like it was putting a glove on, you know. Same with the sports car, and it just worked for me. So it was a crucial moment because we had pole for both races, and I should have won a race, but I touched a curb and damaged the sump. But from that moment, you know, we're all in Formula 3. at that time, Guy. I think you just left. You'd gone on to something else, but I was doing my second year of Formula 3, and I was winning the odd race, so it was going well. But I was with Doco. It was tough. Didn't have a big budget and didn't test, and had Sato that year, and he was quick. Sato, Davison, Courtney, Lotterer, me.
Carlin,
it was a tough year.
Carlin,
we were winning races, but so they did. And I just come from Knock Hill, and I'd stuck it on pole. I didn't win the race, but then I went and I felt really good at Alton. And it sort of, then from that moment, I got a couple of offers to go into touring car racing, and it was just a no-brainer. I was in my sort of mid 20s. I had Sebastian, he was only a few months old, and I was like, I got to start making some money, or this is going to be a big failure. So I made the switch from that moment.
I mean, obviously, the big term was the BMW when you joined. Was it Bert Mampai? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, because obviously with the WTCC, it was European touring cars at the time. It was really starting to get some serious momentum. The manufacturers were all there. I mean, BMW had multiple teams, didn't they? They had Schnitzer. They had lots of different, all their best kind of guys. So how did the BMW sort of seat come about? Did they just contacted you, or? Yeah,
they did actually. It was I was actually racing in Bathurst that year, and in that time it was like faxes. You weren't really living on email. It was a fax, and Fluxy sent me a fax saying, "I think I've got a deal for you. If you sign this, give me 10%. I'll tell you who it is." So of course I signed it. Fluxy, and then I picked up the phone to BMW, and obviously I was with Honda at the time, because I didn't go with Vauxhall when I went with Honda, because it was, in all honesty, it was just about money. I made a little bit more money that year. I mean, I know it seems stupid, but I'm in my late 20s. I hadn't earned anything until that point, so those things were quite important at that moment. I wasn't in a caravan, but I couldn't afford a TV. So I basically I mean, ultimately I phoned BMW, and then I landed back in from Bathurst and did the deal with them. I mean, it was a big moment. And the first year in European touring car, it was tough for the first few races until I established myself with the team and learnt the car a little bit. But then I won in Brno, and then I never looked back, and nearly won the championship that year. And a 1-year contract turned into 14 years with one manufacturer. So
amazing.
It was quite amazing. Yeah.
What's the titles that you took in the World Touring Car Championship? We've actually got a question from, who is this question from? I think this might have been John Tuckwell, was it, Guy? We've had a few questions from people on Twitter anyway. And one of the questions was, of all the championships you've done in the WTCC, which one meant the most to you? It was actually from Spence Burke.
Yeah, I would say that the first world title in Macau was a big moment for me. I'd won the European title the year before. The first world title was very, very special, and I remember that on the cool down lap. I just remember soaking that up and thinking, this is unbelievable. That, and also the third one, which was in fact 4 in a row. And at some point people get fed up, don't they? They just don't want you to win anymore, whether it's boring or whether it's just manufacturers all need a chance. Jealousy. You know how the paddock is, and nobody wanted me to win it that year. And we had the car wasn't quick. I had a really quick teammate in Farfus, and I had a lot of personal challenges. I mean, all of the championships went down to the last race. Most of them were within 1 point between us. I mean, 3 times in Macau went down to the very last race, the 30th race of the year. 9 guys can win, and the third one was nice because I could stick the middle finger up and say, well, at least you can't say it was luck. People started to say I was using the reverse grid to win races, and little did they know that I was carrying 80 kilos of success ballast. The car should have been 15th or 17th, and I scraped into the top 8, reverse grid, made my car really wide, and won the next race because I'm carrying 80 kilos of ballast. And nobody knew it.
Part of the game, that though, isn't it?
It is. It's. I mean, I never dropped back to finish 8th. I always went forward and tried to make the next spot. But yeah, I mean, I suppose in a way, I don't know, Guy, you've been the same, but sometimes your critics really help you, and I needed a bit of that to fire me up. I needed a bit of conflict to get me really in that right zone, to fight. And yeah, I mean, ultimately, those moments were really special to me. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, looking at just getting the chance to do the Nurburgring of BMW, won it with them the first time. I could win 3 world titles, but when you win the Nurburgring for a German manufacturer, that means more than anything else. So there were some
What
big
happens
moments
in
for
that
me at
scenario?
BMW.
Describe the party at the
Well,
Nurburgring.
yeah, I mean, I was with a couple of really crazy teammates. I was with a guy called Boris Said, who's a NASCAR guy, and they brought him in, and it was a guy called Hans Jochen Stuck, who probably Guy knows. Stucky,
legend.
He was my coach. Yeah, so Stucky came in and spent 2 days with me and just taught me around the track, and I sat with him and he took me around, and it was quite a nice one because B&W weren't sure whether they wanted to bring me. I was a touring car guy, to give me a sports car opportunity, and especially around the Nurburgring, I'd never been there before.
Yeah.
So it was, for me, it was a nice moment, and that's when I started to switch into sports car racing. BMW started to use me more and more for other things, and I had a really good race. And we had a fantastic party. But that week, amazingly, I had the Nurburgring one weekend, which I won with my teammates. In the middle of the week, I had 2 days Formula One testing with Williams, and then I flew to Silverstone for the World Touring Car race and won that. So I had an amazing 1 week, which I'll never forget. Never forget. Yeah,
that is amazing.
So it was crazy
Tell us about
times.
The
and I
Formula
think
One
when you're in
testing.
that. So yeah, I mean, very similar to the Renault Formula 3 thing is, I got a prize to do 10 laps in the Formula 1 car, very similar to the Renault in Formula 3. And I took it very seriously. And they thought I was 31 at the time, so they thought, well, we'll just do it as a PR thing. And it turned into 2 years test contract with the team because I did a good job and was professional. And they said most guys get out of the car and they're like, oh wow, that's so amazing, the speed, the braking, and I was just like straight into it. Right, bit of understeer turn 1, maybe I've got a little bit, maybe I'm a little bit below the limit, but I don't feel the car there. And they were really happy with my feedback, and I ended up doing quite a lot of tests for them the next 2 years, which was amazing.
That is awesome.
It's great to work with teams like that you learn so much working with different teams, and it was a fantastic experience. Yeah.
And you must have felt like you were on a bit of a roll at that point, because I mean, if you think about it, with the winning the European Touring Car Championship, the 3 world titles, you thought you could walk on water at that point, pretty much. I mean,
yeah, I knew that this is too good to be true. So we were always waiting for the fall, which inevitably did come. But yeah, I mean, I was really, I mean, when you get into, you've driven for manufacturers, and when things are going right, it's fantastic. You sign the contracts, and they're not throwing money at you. It's not Formula One, but you've got 3-year contract on offer, and shall I do this, or shall I go to Australia and do the V8s, or you've got choices, So it was wonderful. Yeah. And the nice thing with the Germans is they are very loyal. So if you do well for them and you're hardworking, they give you a good career. Yeah. So and then after that, I carried on and worked. Sorry, there's a bit of a delay on my Wi-Fi is not so good here, but probably my daughter's streaming. She's probably doing some Instagram posts or something. But I was going to say with BMW, they are loyal, and at a certain point when you're driving for a manufacturer, you have to realize you're not bigger than the manufacturer. So you kind of do what they want you to do. And there was periods where they were sending me to things that I didn't always want to do, but I did it. And of course, there were periods where the car wasn't competitive because of regulation or whatever, and you do it, and you just you bite your pride and do your job. So, and that lasted for 14 years. So it was amazing.
But at that point, you're a brand ambassador, aren't you? You are forward facing for the brand, and you've got to put the work in as well outside of the car, haven't you? Because you're representing them, and I think you'd be a good ambassador because you come across well, and it's I could see why you would have a long career there. And you had some good teammates, Dirk Muller and Farfus, and some good drivers as well during that period, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did have some good drivers thrown at me, and it was definitely definitely did make it easy for me. Each one of them took me to the championship, right to the wire. So yeah, I mean, touring car racing is like all motorsport. It's a battle of the mind, isn't it? And it's the guy that doesn't crack under pressure when the car's heavy and you reverse grid, and you know you're going into turn one and there's 5, 6 cars trying to fire you off, and the pressure, you know, mounts, and it's about the guy who can keep it cool and finish, and not only drive your car but drive everyone else's as well, and have the awareness, you know, to, and the ego not to be able to go for the next position, but wait your moment and take it when it's there. And you know, I was able to just able to have no pressure, because I, you know, during that time, I don't know if you guys know this, but for a lot of those years I was in a 1-car team with Bart. So it was really, I was in my own bubble. It was fantastic. You know, I could just do my own setup, and I didn't have any data to share or anything. You know, BMW, I always said I was racing for BMW against BMW, because the way Berger set up the teams, you're all teams racing against each other. So we were racing against Schnitzer, you know, one of the biggest, most successful teams of BMW. So who had all of the resources. So we were, you know, David and Goliath really to beat them.
But get excited.
You know, in the end, it was, you know.
Do you still get excited when you sit there on the grid?
I do. I mean, I love racing. Yeah, I do. I've got to say that I love the competition. It's sorry about the dog. I love the competition, and yeah, and I think like you'll always you know, I don't know whether you get this, guy, but there's nothing better than driving out of the circuit on a Sunday afternoon when you've done your job well, you know, and you know that everyone's happy, and you know, you're keeping the wolf away from the door for another few months, and you know, it's a great feling. And you know, one of the reasons why I sort of chose more recently to say, you know, to stand down from full-time racing is that I love racing and I love the competition, but I'm tired of the politics. And I think when you are a professional racing driver, the politics are exhausting, and you've got to always place yourself better than someone else and get the latest update and get all the testing. And you know, I just don't have the gut for that anymore. I love the driving. I love sports car racing. You know, beautiful long stints driving at Le Mans or whatever, but I just don't have the desire to try and convince everyone anymore. You know, that's why I chose this new path.
And the drivers are you not find the drivers are getting younger and younger and younger, and actually you get to the point where you start to feel like you're the oldest person at the party, and you're like looking around.
Oh yeah.
Like, literally they're like 15, you know, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and you're like, But I can completely understand, because when you had a career like you've had, your long career, a successful career, you know, it takes a lot of energy. I mean, we've talked about it with other guests, but it takes up a lot of energy out of the car. I mean, you do your fitness training. I'm not talking about fitness; it's mental energy. You know, and it's not politicking like you're trying to get one up on your teammate, but you know, you'd be talking amongst you in a group, and it'd be like, well, you know, who's doing this test, who's doing the next test, and you want to be there and position yourself. And it's all, unfortunately, it's all part of the game, but it is exhausting because it is constant. You know, and you do get to a point where you love all the things, the driving, being in the car, being in a team, you know, working with mechanics, engineers. It's great, but it does start to, I mean, that's really kind of why I finished at Bentley, was I just got to the point where I just felt tired, and then I kind of retired. I retired fully, but having a year out, I really miss it. You know, I just, if I could do something without the politics, then, which is obviously what you found now, something without the politics, then it's kind of a
Is there a time when you enjoy it? Is there a time when you're hungry and actually you thrive on those politics because they're part of the competition? Is that a thing?
For me, it was, I think it was all about, you know, at the end of the day, you're a brand, aren't you? Your own business, and it's about being successful. And if you're driven, whatever it takes, you know, you'll drive over your granny to win, won't you? But sooner, you know, when you get to a point, you know, like Guy was saying, you know, I've been the old driver for the last 5 years, you know, in WEC. I mean, I've even stopped blue rinsing now, and I've let the hair go grey, you know. It takes a lot to keep yourself looking young, and I'm just over that now. But you know, it is tough. I never really thrived on the politics. I found it quite hard. I think, you know, certain people are fantastic at it. Yeah, I mean, I've always been quite wear my heart on my sleeve and say what I feel and what I think. And, you know, and at a certain time when I was with BMW for the most of those years, I had a fantastic team boss called Dr. Tyson, who really supported me and believed in me as a driver and liked my style. And then he left after I signed a 5-year contract, believe it or not. And then the next day he told me I'm leaving, and we've got a new motorsport boss and new people started coming in. And I lost the will to live with it, to be honest. I mean, it's like having a door closed overnight. You know, they were very good to me. They kept me racing and everything else, but you just don't have the same opportunities that you did before. And that was why I switched to Ford, and gave me 3 fantastic years where I won races in WEC with brilliant young teammates, and had a great career with them. You know, fantastic 3 years with them. But you know, in motor racing, as Guy will tell you, you need everything lined up well on and off the track.
Yeah.
And sometimes you build it and build it. And I think one of the hardest things with big manufacturers is constantly changing. So you just get yourself in a great position, and then they go and they leave somewhere else, and then you start all that again. You know, and
it's
then
probably
you go
like
and
football.
you know, I said to Jomo,
Sorry,
yeah.
Andy, it's probably like football. It's like a manager. You get a manager that really loves you. He wants you to play in the team. He'll put you in because he believes in you. He signed you. Then another manager comes in, so it could be another motorsport guy, and he's like, "Oh, well, you're too old for the brand, or you're not the right fit." You know, so, or it might be a marketing guy that comes in. He's like, "Yeah, you know, we love you. We want to use you for this. We want to use you for that." Then another marketing guy comes in. He's like, you know, and they're not really favoring you, and you have to kind of work to build that relationship back up again.
You make it sound really easy, though, Andy. You talk about switching from BMW to Ford, but I mean, John Tookwell asks on Twitter, how did that Ford GT deal come about? That's not as easy as you make it sound in a one-liner. I switched from BMW to Ford. There must have been an awful lot going on around that period.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I will say, be honest with you, I kind of saw the writing on the wall when I was with BMW. So they sent me after DTM to the US, and I had a fantastic season in the US, and I was winning races and stuff. But then they moved me to ELMS, and then, you know, the next thing I thought I'd be racing on the North Pole in some touring car series. So I kind of had a year or so where I knew something was going to happen. It wasn't working. I could win races and I still wasn't going to get any credibility. So I then decided, so it was a year before that, I started talking with Ford and George Howard Chapel, and luckily I was still winning races. And you know, I never thought I would leave BMW because I won so much with them, and 60 races, international race wins, plus 3 world titles and everything, launching cars for them and everything. I never thought that they would let me walk out the door, but you know, they did. You know, I think they're just a new mindset came into the company. They didn't even have a plan for me, you know, beyond my career. Like Alan McNeish and these guys were ambassadors, and I would have been really happy to have stayed a BMW brand ambassador and been, you know, doing a car launch all the way. But they said, Andy, I'm sorry, we don't have anything like that for our drivers. We don't do that type of thing. So I knew that time was like done. So I spoke to Ford, and I met with Larry Holt at Atlanta, and convinced them to sign me. And they were very happy, you know, to have me on board. And it was just one of those great opportunities, you know, again, the handful of opportunities that make or break your career. And here I am now, 3 years on, you know, re-employed by Multimatic on a long-term contract, driving race cars, being an ambassador, doing the things that I should have done for BMW, and now they're utilizing me. So it's fantastic. And I'm really glad I did it. So still got a lot to thank BMW for, and we're still great friends. But listen, I wouldn't have had a house, you know, I wouldn't have had a roof over my head if it wasn't for those valuable years with BMW, and they paid all their bills. You know, they were fantastic. So, but yeah, sometimes, you know, I always love the story of the Buddha. The Buddha spends months and months and months doing a fantastic bit of art, and then as soon as it's finished, they take it to the stream and wash it away to remind you that everything in life is transitory. And you know, this is why you have to always perform. I keep telling my son, you've always got to perform. Everything's transitory.
Elvin Evans said that,
Yeah.
didn't he, in the podcast we did, Guy? He said that we asked him if he enjoyed the success that he was having now, and he said, not really, because I'm only as good as the next time I jump in the car, and it's all about performing every single time.
You're as good as your last race, aren't you? I mean, in the day, it's like with manufacturers again before, you know, you have a really good test, and like suddenly they're in love with this driver because he's been super fast. So, you know, it changes all the time, and I think the main thing is you just got to go with the flow and kind of ride it out, and in your own mind, just try and keep everything level. I mean, do you do a lot of mind work, Andy? I know you're quite into your kind of, you know, zoning and meditating and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that something you've always done, or?
I do actually. On and off when I've needed it. Yeah. I've needed it in the last 3 months during this lockdown. Just to sort of utilize that time to, you know, find new ways. I mean, we're all like lying low, weren't we, guys? So we still got a job, you know. Is there going to be a program at the end of this? So yeah, I do, Guy. I like it. But you know, I still have my ups and downs like everyone else. I'm not perfect, and you know, sometimes my downs are really down, but the most important thing is you stand up, dust yourself down, and go again. And you know, that's something that I've always been capable to do. And I mean, sometimes I have to work really hard to focus on the positive because I'm a realist. But I always try really hard to focus on the positive and look for the solution, not the problem. And my meditation, I do meditation and all these areas to help me, especially when I'm competing. You know, just mindfulness and everything is so important, you know.
I'm the same. I've started doing it more and more, kind of just to kind of relax myself, you know, because it is quite a stressful world that we're living in. One thing we haven't touched on is the V8 stuff you've done. I mean, obviously those cars are just absolutely, you know, I've never driven them myself, but absolutely in awe of anybody that has. And the racing is, you know, I think we're all big fans of the Aussie V8s.
Everybody show you the surfboard here.
Oh, nice.
The Surfers Paradise Gold Coast podium.
Fantastic.
That's a trophy and a half.
Have you used it yet?
I stole it. I stole it.
If you're listening to this on iTunes, you've got to check it out on YouTube to see that trophy.
Yeah, I mean,
no.
Was it good to drive? I mean, it looks tricky to drive.
Tricky, very tricky, mate. Yeah, it was you know, it was a tough transition. We had, you know, I went down really. My first year was in 2002, and I drove right up to, well, the last year I went would have been 15. So I had some really fantastic years down there, but the cars are very, very difficult to drive with a locked rear axle. Very heavy, but super powerful. Tire degradation, huge. The races are fantastic because you're long distance races with driver changes and everything that you get in the sports car. But yeah, I mean, it's not an easy formula. I always was able to do quite well, but there were some other guys that came over that struggled a little bit, and I can understand why, because
we spoke to
the cars are tricky.
We spoke to Plato, and he was telling us a story about when him and Ivan went over. I can't remember the circuit now, but they did a test, and the test driver went out. I can't remember which one it was now. Set a kind of a bench lap time, and he said Ivan went out, did 15 laps, comes in, and he's kind of like, you know,
swagger.
How was it, Ivan? He's like, oh, you know, the car's a little bit of understeer, it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. He's like, oh, great. He said, how was I? I said, you were 4 seconds off the pace. So and he couldn't believe it. He said, no, it's not possible. It's not possible. And then Jason went out and did the same thing, exactly the same thing, 4 seconds off the pace. He said he had to go to the toilet and have a word with himself and give him a slap across the face and say, you know, get your shit together. So everybody says the same thing. But I mean, you did really well. I mean, obviously you drove with, you know, Craig Lowndes, you drove with, you know, AAA, you know, the prime seats basically. You weren't kind of at the back of the grid making up the numbers. You were in the sort of the top drive. So it's a lot of you've obviously put a lot of trust in you and your ability. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was I think it suited me. The car suited me, rear wheel drive, heavy. And thanks, Guy. But my first teammate was Ivan, actually, the first year that I did it. So we were teammates for that. And then I moved into, you know, then they brought me back, and I did 2 or 3 years with Kmart, and then Roland Dane brought me into 888, and you know, I did quite a few races. Bathurst, I think I've done 7 or 8 times. Led it in the last year until the final laps, really, with Ekstrom. We had a really strong lineup there. Again, another really important moment for me was V8 Supercars, because I'd had a few years in DTM and I thought I'd forgotten how to drive. I was really struggling in DTM, and I just thought, right, it's time to stop. I'm just not competitive enough anymore. And I got the offer to go to the V8s, and Ekstrom was my teammate, and I couldn't have had a better teammate. He was the man winning everything in DTM. And we spent some time together out there. And in fact, funny enough, BMW convinced me to switch to left foot braking, which is something I haven't done all my entire life. And then I thought, well, for the V8s, I'm going to do right foot, because, right foot's what I've always done. And yeah, I was really competitive. I was a lot quicker than Ekstrom the whole weekend. And Ekstrom said to me, whatever you do, AP, don't retire. You've still got a few races in you, mate. And then I landed back from that last race, and BMW had a contract waiting for me to sign. So they'd obviously seen it and saw that I wasn't struggling. There was something that wasn't quite right in DTM. And so kind of got my break again with them, really.
So now, or left foot breaker?
I am. I'm a bit of both, but I would like to say I would like to rely mostly on my right foot. I just realised I was 98% with my left foot. I was 98%. I felt okay, but all those little modulations and all those neuro pathways that we've built up over our whole career. And you know what, mate? I've seen no loss of time in right foot. It's better in sports car. You're better on fuel. And I've seen no loss of time. So I said after that, I'm never going to change.
Yeah. It's interesting because you start with go-karts, and of course you're left foot braking all the time, and then you go into car racing and you go to right foot braking. But of course now all the kids left foot brake now, don't they? That's just the way they do it. Everybody left foot brakes. But the problem is they can't do all those kind of. We talked with Derek Bell about double the clutch in and heel and toe in. And of course, if a young driver now, if you suggested to them heel and toe, they wouldn't have a clue what that meant. But of course, you don't have to, because it's all paddle shift and worst case a sequential gearbox. So
until we do Goodwood.
Yeah, Goodwood, exactly.
That's it. Come and do Goodwood, they'll struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, we had to learn to heel and toe, didn't we, mate? In F3.
Yeah.
You remember that? It was the strength of your blip and that synchronized, beautiful rear grip, and these are things that we all did ourselves. But now they, as you say, they slam it down the box, and they don't even know what the gearbox does and what the drive shaft does, and all of these things that we have to. When we started, we had to synchronize all of those downshifts to work perfectly to get through the box in a nice fluid way. And in V8s, the years I was doing it, you were, towards the end I was sequential, but when I first started, it was H pattern 6 speed, and you'd be at the end of the Conrad straight, and you go 6th, 4th, 2nd.
Oh, really?
you wouldn't go through the box because you didn't have time. So your blip had to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
and none of this helps you with your iRacing, does it? None of this helps you with your iRacing.
No, what with the esports?
Esports, yeah.
Yeah, no.
You're big into it, aren't you? You're big into the old iRacing, sim racing, aren't you? You're a bit of a legend now. What are you doing?
The only drive I've got this year, mate. It's the only drive I've got this year.
Who's quicker, you or Seb? Who's quicker, you or Seb?
Seb's quicker, mate. He's up the road. These kids on these bloody simulators, you know. But I mean, I'm up with Montoya and these guys. We're all hammering it out, and the kids are just a different world, Do you drive the sim, guy, or not?
No, I should do it. I was on the verge of buying one before lockdown, and I didn't do it. I sort of wish I did, but the problem is I'd got quite addictive, so I'd sit on it for like hours on end. That's the issue, isn't it? You've got to get good on it. The issue is the time.
Yeah, you got to do this is really a true story. They're doing 90 hours a week, these kids.
Really?
Now, I've got a family to bring up.
Yeah.
I've got to try and do I've got a business that I'm, working in with Multimatic and everything else. I've got to work, I can't do 90 hours a week. I'll do 9 or 10 in the evening.
Yeah.
So you're going to struggle. But mate, I tell you, it's getting closer and closer to reality now.
Yeah.
And it's good for my processor.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kept my mind spinning. Otherwise, I get a bit lazy in the
Yeah.
mind. You know, it's kept me spinning, which has really, really helped.
Yeah. So
It's bloody annoying.
frustrating. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Seb then. What's obviously as you start to focus on other things consciously or subconsciously, and Seb's done just amazing. I mean, he's been flying in. Obviously, came through Genettas, but I think really last year with the GT4 in the Mustang. I mean, he showed his speed, and obviously in some respects it was a great benchmark because when you drove together, you could see instantly he was at your level. Certainly in terms of performance, and I think that was a real stamp of just how good a driver he is. I think it was great. So, I mean, he's obviously got an exciting future. I mean, I'm sure it's a difficult one to navigate as it was for all of us. But, I mean, the plan is obviously, would you like him to race in the US, or is that, what are you thinking with that?
Well, I mean, Seb, he's got a great opportunity to do Multimatic as well, and it's quite a nice story, really. So Larry used to follow him quite a bit, when I was racing for him in the GT, and I used to invite him along some of Seb's races. So he's seen him win in Ginetta, and he's seen him win in Formula 4. And then one afternoon, he said, "Look, AP, I've got the Mustang down here. I've got to rotate a few drivers. Mucker's in the car. Put Seb in it. Let's see what he's like." And but he said, "No hockey dads allowed. You're not allowed anywhere near the garage. You're not allowed anywhere near the car. Just want you to get out of the way and leave us to run him." And he had a fantastic test. He was, to be honest, he was quicker than Mucker. And Larry said, "Oh, we're very happy about that." Anyway, Seb then went on to finish the season in Formula 4, won a few races, and then got a test with the McLaren GT team and won the scholarship. And I was in Fuji with Larry racing in WEC. And I said to Larry, "Hey, look, I've just had a contract from McLaren. They want Seb. They're going to give him a little bit of money." And he said, No, I'm having him." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "No, I'll match it."
Oh, really?
And lengthen the term. So I was like, crikey. All right, well, he's yours. You take him. He's yours. So him and Larry are really, really great. And then he had the seat last year, and then he had another offer from BMW, and he chose to stay with Multimatic, and now with them for the long term. So,
brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, Guy, there's not a lot more I can do apart from screw it up for him. So I try to keep away.
It must be nerve-wracking for you, isn't it? I mean, it's hard as a parent. I mean, my kids are into karting, or they do like horse riding and stuff, and even in the small events they do, my heart's in my mouth when I see them jumping. It must be awful for you, isn't it? I mean, it must be nice to see him succeed, but like, it must be quite,
It's hard going through it again. It's hard going through it the second time. It's the sport's changed.
Yeah.
We started to what it is now, and nobody cares. Going through all the lower formulas was horrible with the teams, and I almost had more stress with that than going through my whole career, because you're actually paying for it yourself, and getting screwed over at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's awful. But I've had to be very careful, as a dad, and who I am, and who you are. We've got to be careful. So I've always got to sort of take a step back and try to let him make his mistakes, but it's tough. I don't like it when on a Sunday afternoon I'm telling him he's got to be the first guy in turn one, fully committed, and then I'm like closing the door going, why am I saying that to my son? You know what I mean? What am I saying to him? But you got to teach him.
A terrifying picture of the lower formula. It's just the lower formulas just don't seem like a happy hunting ground at all these days, given what you guys are saying and what we've heard previously as well. It sounds awful.
Well, when I used to started formula racing, they were happy if you could find a sponsor and drive the car, and it was like the team respected that. Now it's like your duty to bring money, and you're lucky to be with us. And I'm like, well, actually, when I look at how you're running this car, I don't feel lucky at all. It's a mess.
Yeah.
You know, your mechanic's just come out of college. He's useless.
Yeah.
The things, you know, look at the radiator and the intercooler. It's horrendous. And you want me to pay, you know, how much? You know, and it's all got to be up front. And yeah, it's a minefield, mate. It's a minefield. And something that I don't want to go through again, to be honest.
Well, it sounds like you've made that jump. You made the hardest bit, which is actually to become a professional driver. And you know, Multimatic is a great brand. You know, they've always got great projects going on. So I mean, I think you've done really well to get him in that position, and you can't really do any more than you've done at this point. So that's really good.
Thanks, mate.
Paul, have we got?
That means a lot coming from you. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks, man. Have we got any questions? More questions?
We have. There's a question that is intriguing me that I need to put to you, Andy. It's from Alex Brown, who's actually one of my marshals at Cadwell Park. Great guy. He does a lot of marshalling in London for the Formula E and various other things. But he asks, we've got it written down somewhere actually. I think it was the Race of Champions in London, and he just simply wants to know: have you warmed up yet?
The Race of Champions. Oh yeah, that was 2 degrees. It was horrendous. We were all freezing. And unfortunately, yeah, I think the fans were in the stadium and they were just chilled to the bone. But it was a fun weekend. It was a fun weekend. Amazing to do that at Wembley, and to do that in front of the fans. And in fact, funny enough, I had the chance to actually win. I won the Race of Champions in Wembley a few years later, the Nations Cup, and it was phenomenal. But I do remember that night, and I do remember everybody completely frozen to the bone. But thanks for watching, because lots of fans were complaining to us how horrible it was.
I think he was marshalling actually
on esports this weekend. Oh, was he marshalling? Was he?
Yeah. He would have been. Yeah.
So are you doing it this weekend? Is it this weekend? Is it an esports version?
Yeah, mate. I'm doing. Yes. Yeah.
So how can we watch that then? Is that on like what any idea what it's on?
Well, I think it's actually just leading up to the Grand Prix this weekend. I don't know which TV package. I'll find out and let you know. But we're doing it, virtual Race of Champions, which will be fun. Do you know what's great about the esports, mate? What's great about the esports is you can go from your living room to the sim, race like hell, and then come straight back and have a cup of tea afterward. Whereas there's no flights, there's no politics. You don't have to talk to anyone. You can just have a lot of fun. You know,
this is the glamour that enthusiasts like me talk about.
We're all in on Discord.
Yeah.
This is the glamour that we talk about in motor racing.
We need. I mean, I'm looking for what I'm really looking forward to. I mean, I am a father of 3 girls, but I'm looking forward to your next TikTok, because I'm loving your TikToks, and quite frankly, it's putting me under some pressure because my kids are looking at it saying, "Well, come on, Dad, you know, like we want to do a TikTok dance," and like you gotta up the ante. You know, you gotta work really hard to keep these kids. You know, to be cool, to be a cool dad. It's not easy. So you meaning the dance routine that I did? You're talking about the dance routine. Yeah. And I'm the worst dancer.
2 glasses of red wine.
Exactly.
2 glasses of red wine. You're good to go.
Actually, just talk about a few glasses of red wine. And when you mentioned Mario Tyson, I remember being at an ALMS banquet with Andy Merrick, and we'd had a few beers, and we were dancing with Mario Tyson. And all I remember was I turned away and I turned round, and I saw Andy Merrick trying to tug Mario Tyson's moustache off because he thought it was a stick-on. And
oh my God!
And then Mario Tyson, he was like, "Oh, I like you. You're funny.
That could have gone either way.
Merrick's chance of ever driving for BMW was gone in a shot, but he was good.
Do you know what? He would have loved it.
Lovely guy.
Mario is he's a fantastic guy. I mean, the thing with Mario, you could be partying with him till 3-4 in the morning, and you think, right, you know, you could be doing some horrendously stupid things on the dance floor, and then 6-7 in the morning, he's up into work. Next day, I had several meetings with him to discuss my contract after the BMW Motorsport party, expecting to find him. My plan was to get him absolutely wasted and get the deal concluded in the morning. But he was as sharp as hell, and it was me that was wasted and couldn't put the sentence together. So you know, he was a great guy, fantastic boss, really tough, very very good race engineer, but also, you know, very hard on you if you screwed up. He wanted the best from you, but if you screwed up, he was also the first to support you as well. And that was really nice. And you know, we're all in the sport where you get thrown under the bus so quickly. It's nice to have somebody like that supports you, and sometimes, you know, gives you the confidence to push yourself forward, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Andy, Paul, should we go for some quick fire questions?
I think so.
Yeah. So Andy, I've got some quick fire questions for you. So basically,
Guy, how quick will they be with this time delay we've got on the
well, there's a little bit of delay. So I'll make sure that I pause in between. So basically, it's to say the first thing that comes into your mind, and then I've got a question from Brian Gush that I'm going to ask you. So are you ready, Andy?
I'm ready, mate. Yeah.
Okay. So Top Gear or Fifth Gear?
Top Gear.
GTE or WTCC?
GTE, actually.
Okay. Beach holiday or adventure holiday?
Beach holiday for me.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Good man. Oversteer or oversteer or understeer?
Neutral. Can I ask for neutral?
with a hint of push. Yeah.
Typical racing
Balanced. Yeah. Balance with a bit of push. Yeah.
Okay, and I've got a question from Brian. Actually, I've got two more questions. Sorry, it was on my sheet. Soper or Rivaglia?
Soper, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
He was a tiger.
He was. Yeah. V6 or V8?
V8, mate. It's got to be, hasn't it? V8.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've got a pass along question from Brian, and with this you get off quite lightly, because Jason's question to Brian was, tell me the first place that you basically had some action. You know, what car was the first place you had some action? And I'm having to ask this to my ex-boss. But actually, he was a trooper, and luckily it was his wife. So he got together young.
Story.
This one from Brian is quite a good one, actually. He said, how would you use your last tank of petrol? Name the track and name the car on your last tank of fuel.
That's a really good question. I would say Bathurst, mate. It's got Macau and Spa in one.
Yeah.
So I would say that's a really good question. Yeah, I like that.
What car would that be?
What car would that be in? I would love to do a lap of Bathurst in the Ford GT, the Ford GTE. Yeah, that was a beautifully balanced car. Would be phenomenal round there. Yeah, that would have been my preference. Yeah.
Very good.
You know those cars that you sometimes don't want to drive. You're happy to see the back of that car. I'd like to see that car and drive that car anytime again. Yeah.
Such a great looking car, isn't it? As well, it's such a purposeful, proper looking
Beautiful
car. Was that
good marketing as well?
Was that designed and built? The road car, was that done by Multimatic?
It was. Yeah. They did the whole thing. Yeah.
So, Andy, do you have a question for our next? We don't quite know how our next guest is, although I've got an idea. Do you have a question for them? It can be anything, literally anything.
Literally anything. So I'd like to have known who it was going to be, mate.
It doesn't work like that.
I can't.
Then I could sort of load it. You know what I mean? How I want to load it.
Well,
so
Paul,
what would be my question?
Am I allowed to reveal it, Paul?
No. Just go fully loaded, just on the off chance.
Do you want me to tell him or not?
No,
okay.
That's not how it works.
I'm not allowed to tell him.
Can't I throw him under the bus?
He's a legend. All I can tell you is a legend.
Right.
We only do legends on this show. We only do legends.
Well gathered together there, Guy.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So I would probably say, would it be blonde or brunette?
Okay.
Tell me if it's going to be
Definitely in
blonde
Jason's
or
camp.
brunette. I chose both just to be safe.
I've got a feeling he might say the same thing, to be honest, but we'll definitely ask him and see.
On that bombshell.
Boom.
Cool, guys.
Good. Well, thanks, Andy. We
Fantastic.
really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. I know you've got a lot of stuff going on and you're busy, but yeah, really great to catch up with you. And obviously, I haven't seen you for a long time, so it's good to catch up. I really enjoyed it.
Too long, mate.
Well, I'm sure
been too long. We've got to catch up sometime, and
definitely we could always.
I'm super happy also to see you back in WEC.